They called him the Boy King, Tutankhamun. His name, once lost to the desert winds, was carved again into history by those who disturbed his eternal rest. But in the years that followed that fateful discovery in 1922, the world began to whisper of a curse. Cairo, Egypt, November 4th, 1922. The sun bakes the Valley of the Kings, a silent necropolis where pharaohs sleep beneath the sand. British archaeologist Howard Carter, after years of disappointment and dwindling funding, stands on the brink of ruin. His patron, Lord Carnarvon, grows impatient. Most believe the valley has yielded all its secrets, but Carter does not. And then, on this unremarkable morning, a boy stumbles upon a buried stone step. It is the threshold to the greatest discovery in modern archaeology. For 6 years, Carter had scoured the desert floor, chasing rumors, old maps, and faint hieroglyphs hinting at a forgotten tomb. Each season ended in failure. Each dig, a grave for hope. But that step led to another. Then another. Until, at last, a sealed doorway appeared, its plaster unbroken, its symbols ancient and foreboding. May the gods smite him who disturbs the rest of the pharaoh. Carter brushes off the sand, trembling. The seal bears the name of a king few remember. Tutankhamun, a boy who reigned briefly more than 3,000 years ago and then vanished from memory. The world had forgotten him. The desert had not. When Carnarvon arrives from England, the two men descend by torchlight into the darkness. The air is dry, heavy with age. Behind a second sealed door, Carter peers through a small hole. He raises a candle. "What do you see?" Carnarvon asks. Carter breathes, voice barely a whisper. "Yes, wonderful things." Inside lay treasures beyond imagination. Chariots, statues, jewelry, and gilded shrines, preserved as if time itself bowed to the young king. The scent of ancient resin filled the air. Carter realized what he had found: the first intact royal tomb ever discovered in Egypt. Then, deep within, another sealed chamber, the burial chamber itself. 4 massive golden shrines enclosed a stone sarcophagus. Inside that, 3 nested coffins. The final one, solid gold, cradled the mummified remains of Tutankhamun. His serene face mask, pure gold, inlaid with lapis lazuli, became an icon of eternity. But around them, hieroglyphs whispered warnings. Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the king. The words were dismissed as superstition. But soon, death began to follow. On April 5, 1923, just months after the tomb's opening, Lord Carnarvon dies suddenly in Cairo. A mosquito bite on his cheek becomes infected. Fever consumes him. At the moment of his death, all the lights in Cairo reportedly flicker out. Back in England, Carnarvon's dog howls and dies that same night. The newspapers erupt. "Death comes to those who disturb the pharaoh," screams the New York Times. The curse of the pharaohs becomes legend overnight. And then, more deaths follow. George J. Gould, a wealthy visitor who toured the tomb, dies of pneumonia shortly after leaving Egypt. Prince Ali Kamel Fahmy Bey, who mocked the curse, is murdered in London. Sir Archibald Douglas Reed, who X-rayed Tutankhamun's mummy, dead. Arthur Mace, Carter's close associate, dead within months. And by 1930, more than a dozen linked to the expedition are dead. From illness, accidents, or suicide. Coincidence? Or curse? Skeptics rush to explain it. The tomb, sealed for millennia, could have harbored deadly spores, toxins, or ancient molds. But postmortems find no such proof. Carter himself, the man who first opened the tomb, lives nearly 2 decades longer, dying peacefully in 1939. The curse, it seems, chooses its victims carefully. Historians dig deeper. They discover that the curse inscription never appeared inside Tutankhamun's tomb at all. It was a fabrication by journalists, feeding a public hungry for mystery. Yet, even fabricated legends have power, and this one refused to die. Carter's once bright triumph grows shadowed by suspicion and tragedy. Egyptian nationalists accuse him of theft. Rumors swirl that he broke seals in secret, stole amulets, and sold artifacts to collectors. Carter denies it, but the golden glory of his discovery is forever tainted by whispers of the curse. But who was Tutankhamun, truly? He ascended the throne at just 9 years old, in the aftermath of Egypt's most turbulent religious revolution. His father, the heretic pharaoh Akhenaten, had abandoned Egypt's gods for one, the Aten, the sun disk. Tutankhamun's reign sought to restore order. He reinstated the old gods, moved the capital back to Thebes, and tried to heal a kingdom fractured by divine rebellion. But the boy king's life was short, just 10 years on the throne. At 19, he was dead. His death remains a mystery. Was it accident or assassination? CT scans and forensic studies show a fractured skull, a shattered knee, traces of malaria. Some believe he died from infection after a chariot fall. Others whisper of political murder, a plot by his advisors, Ai and Horemheb, who later took the throne. And in death, his story vanished, erased by those who sought to rewrite history. For 3,200 years, his name lay buried until Carter uncovered it, and with it, the wrath of ages. In the years after the tomb's discovery, Cairo was alive with rumor. Locals claimed they saw ghostly lights flicker above the Valley of the Kings at night. Museum workers spoke of statues that moved, of whispers echoing through corridors, of strange winds that snuffed out lamps near the mummy's case. In 1962, when the mummy was X-rayed again, the image of Tutankhamun's skull flickered. Then the power in the entire lab failed. Coincidence? Or something more? Every time the mummy traveled, mishaps followed. In 1972, when Tutankhamun's treasures toured London, the plane carrying the exhibit narrowly avoided disaster. In 2011, as Egypt plunged into revolution, some blamed the curse again, saying the pharaoh's spirit had been disturbed once more. The legend, it seemed, was eternal. Even now, scholars debate the truth. There was no ancient spell carved on the tomb walls, no god of vengeance hovering in the desert. But perhaps the curse was never supernatural. Perhaps it was human. The curse of obsession, of greed, of man's hunger to conquer the past, to peel back the mysteries of the dead and wear them as trophies. Carter himself, in his later years, grew withdrawn. He refused interviews, spoke rarely of the tomb. In his notes, he once wrote, "The more I learn of the ancients, the more I sense that we were never meant to disturb them." The treasures of Tutankhamun, once sealed in silence, became symbols of both glory and tragedy. A boy king forgotten by history, who became the most famous pharaoh of them all. Today, Tutankhamun's mask gleams beneath museum lights in Cairo, a face that has stared across eternity. Millions come to see him, yet few realize the shadow his discovery cast across the modern world. The curse reshaped archaeology. It forced scientists to respect ancient sites as sacred spaces, not mere excavations. It turned Egyptology into global fascination, and superstition into spectacle. But deep within the sands of the Valley of the Kings, whispers persist. Tour guides still speak of the curse in hushed tones. And each time the mummy's eyes seem to catch the light, just for a second, one can't help but feel that Tutankhamun still watches. Not with malice, but with memory. A warning from the ancient world. Some doors were never meant to be opened. In the heart of the Egyptian museum, beneath glass and shadow, lies Tutankhamun, wrapped in gold and myth. He was a child who became a god, forgotten by time, then reborn through tragedy. The curse that bears his name has outlived every skeptic, every explorer, every thief who sought his secrets. Because it was never about death. It was about power, and the price one pays to possess it. For in the silence of the tomb, where the air is older than memory, one truth remains unbroken. The dead never sleep when the living refuse to let them rest. Thank you so much for watching. For more historical discoveries like this, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Your support helps bring these forgotten stories to life.